Okay, so today I'm no longer in the beautiful garden of Ireland, County Wicklow. Today I'm only a few miles from home in Rockbrook, County Dublin. And I'm at the wonderful Rockbrook Park School. And what you've just seen is the original building, that yellow building that I showed you there. And now a little bit in the distance behind me, you can see the more modern facility. And if you look carefully, you'll also see a little sign that says Nature Trail. But I'll come back to that in a minute, because with me I have the wonderful Codie Preston. Codie is a teacher here, and he's also got a special title, which is what, Codie? Tell me. Come up here and tell me.
How are you, Michael?
Good morning.
Good.
Now tell me about this special title that you have.
Well, it's not very special. The Green School Coordinator. So
I love that.
Just trying to make Rockbrook an environmentally sustainable school, through education, through litter and waste, through biodiversity. So it's great. Something I've an interest in, and something that the kids really love to get involved in as well.
Okay, well, I tell you what, before you start telling me about the kids, how many are there, by the way, in the school?
Small school, less than 200.
Oh, okay.
All boys.
And would you say they all have an interest in nature and wildlife? And
I think everybody has an interest in nature, some more than others, but it's in there. It's in there somewhere. You just have to bring that interest out of them.
Okay.
But in the whole, most of them, they love getting outside the classroom. They love getting down into the forests and down to the river and the meadows and having a look at what's there. So
great stuff.
The interest is there, definitely.
And you couldn't pick a more beautiful location. I mean, this is
fantastic.
Wonderful, this place.
It really is.
Yeah. I've driven past here numerous times and never realised that there was a place along the road that was so beautiful. It's absolutely fabulous. You've even got the Oundor River behind us here.
We do. The part
through.
Of the Oundor flows through our grounds here, and we're overlooked in the background by the Hellfire Club and Massey's. Massey's is just behind us here, and then you follow that up into the Hellfire Club, and then down this way you're overlooking Dublin. So it really is a beautiful location.
Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, let's leave it at that for a minute, and I'm going to show people some of what's behind us. Again, looking at the older school, if I turn to my left towards the new building, I see a sign which I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago. And this is the Nature Trail. And we're going to follow this in a couple of minutes. And you can see it leads right by the newer part, the newer building. And again, I have to ask Codie when this building was actually built. And I think he's not too far away, so...
I'm just behind you here, Michael.
Aha, he is. He's right behind me. Why don't I turn around and ask him? This newer building, Codie.
Yeah.
When was it first built?
So I think it was 2010 was when the newer part of the building was built. The original Georgian building here, the earliest part of that building goes back to the 1760, and then parts were added to it as the years went on.
Really that old?
That old. It had some famous residents over that time, like Johnny Fox of the pub's fame lived here for a while. A guy called Brown, who was the head brewer in Guinness's, lived here for a while, and Lord Glenavy, who was the head of the Bank of Ireland, also lived here over the years. So there's been a real history, and it was originally set up close to the mill, which you'll see later on, which was a paper mill that was along the Oundor River, and that dates back to the 18th century as well.
And of course, as you well know, there were lots of mills along the Dodder.
That's right.
But it must have been fascinating back in those days to see all those mills, paper, calico, all sorts of things.
It would have been a hive of activity. It would have had probably hundreds of people working in that mill, and horses and carts going in every few minutes, and a real hive of activity.
But you're looking at me now, Codie, and you can probably see the smile on my face, because I'm also thinking about one very negative aspect of this, and that's the pollution those mills must have caused in the rivers.
Probably.
I've never looked into that. Do you know anything about it?
I don't really. But actually, interestingly, the way that they used to channel the water up to power the mill, they had a way of channeling the water out of the river, and then it turned the wheel and then went back down into the river. So it was all you know, renewable energy. So at least that's something.
I'll take your word for that. Now, Codie, we're standing at what was, at least I think it was, the old building connected with the mill along the Owen. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It was a paper mill, and I think it goes back to the 18th century, and it would have been a hive of activity back in those days.
There's quite a lot of it still standing, isn't there?
Yeah, it's in great condition, and the walls were capped a few years ago, just to kind of, you know, keep the integrity of the walls. So it's in great nick. Yeah.
Can we see anything of the inside of it, looking from a different position, or what?
Yeah. You want to keep the camera rolling?
Oh, you're going to bring me around? Okay.
Yeah. So we can bring in here.
I'm glad I brought you. Oh, we're going into the dark again.
So on the left-hand side, you can see some ruins. Apparently they were houses where workers used to live.
Oh yeah, okay.
And they go back. So, they come back all the way, you know, so you can see the.
Oh yeah, I see the shape.
But it would have been.
Excellent.
I don't know how big the houses were. I don't know much about them, but they probably would have had, you know, a number of families, worker families living in those houses. And then over to your right here is the mill.
Oh yeah, this is what I was hoping for, that I might actually get to see inside it. And you can actually see.
Yeah, and you can come over here, Michael. I might see
just
it.
bear with me a second.
Yeah. So the only thing that lives in there now is wildlife.
Oh well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't object to that. Now you reckon I can see more from where you are over there, so I'll come around the tree and see what I can see.
Well, maybe not too much more. I just love that big arch that you see down here.
Oh, that's fabulous, isn't it?
And you know, it's huge. Again, I don't know what would have happened in each of these different rooms. It seems to be divided into a few different rooms, but I suppose people who'd have a knowledge of how paper was made would be able to answer that one.
Well, again, our history experts can tell us that, I think. But I'm amazed that there's so much of it still standing.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a fabulous structure.
Yeah. And up the top there, you can imagine I presume that was like a bell tower or something, probably indicating when people had to get to work or finish up. Now, if you look over to your left, Michael, it's hard to make this out, but you can see
I can see the shape of the walls. Yeah,
that was a reservoir of some sort. So the water from the river would have been channeled in there. It would have been stored here, and there would have been a big gate below us. A gate here that they would have opened and closed to allow the water through, and the water would have flown underneath where we're standing, across, turned around that little corner.
Yeah, you can see the channel there.
And the wheel was on that wall.
Ah, yeah.
So
okay.
The big wheel then would have got turned by the water. The water then would have re-entered the river further down, and that would have kept going. So, you know,
I won't do my Proud Mary impersonation. Big wheel keep on turning. I promise.
But yeah, it's it's a fascinating structure, and
absolutely
so
amazing.
Much history there that we probably that have been lost. And
I just can't believe there's so much of it still standing. Isn't it an awful pity that more of the mills along the Dodder aren't standing like that?
Yeah.
Because there's great history connected with some of them. Okay folks, I'm now in the garden of Rockbrook Park School, and Codie Preston is still putting up with my presence, and he's going to tell me a little bit about what we're looking at here, what's around us, the trees, the plants, and more importantly, the nature trail, and what he would tell the children. in his classes. Tell me, Codie.
Yeah, Michael, well this part of the school grounds would have been the old gardens to the big house. So this, you can see it's kind of tiered gardens going down, and it's a mixture of kind of native and non-native plants. So I suppose back in you know, the 19th century, they would have brought in all these exotic plants from different places. So you have some unusual ones, and that will lead me on in a second to our first sign. But we also have a lot of things like hazel. The background here, you can see lots of self-seeded foxglove. We have a beautiful tree down here, which we'll see in a second, called a myrtle, and lots of other you know, broadleaf and evergreen trees.
I have noticed around the place there are a lot of signs. You're going to show me this one down here. Let's go down and have a look.
Yeah, great. So all the signs in the nature trail were designed by our students. So this one here was put together by Earl John, and this is about invasive species in Rockbrook. And I suppose it's important for people to realise that you know, not all plants are native, and not all plants are necessarily good for an ecosystem. What we have a lot of here in Rockbrook, and this dates back to the old Georgian house, was rhododendron. Would have been really popular in the gardens back then, but it can actually take over, and it can be quite damaging, as we saw in places like Killarney National Park and in other parts of the country. Rhododendron can take over forests. Another thing that we have in one part of the school grounds is knotweed. So that's another invasive species that has to be controlled. And then we just put in the grey squirrels as well, because even though they're here so long, they're not native to Ireland, and they do compete with our native red squirrels.
Okay, well, having mentioned the squirrels, then are there any red squirrels? And I doubt it. The fact that you've said there are grey squirrels here, I doubt that we have the reds, have we?
I've never seen a red, but I'm hopeful that we might have them in the future, because apparently they've been spotted up near Massey's Wood, so we're very close to that here. The number of greys, interestingly, this year seems to have dropped. I haven't seen as many greys as we used to, so we never know, but generally it's the grey squirrels that dominate.
Yeah, okay. No, it is true that there are reds in Massey's.
Is it? Yeah.
And you are close, you're practically neighbours.
Yeah.
So hopefully, and they're up in Glenasmole.
Is that right?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I photograph them in Glenasmole on a regular basis, so yeah.
I need to start looking up more when I'm walking around here. I'm
Yeah,
always
well,
looking down at the plants and the insects. I don't look up enough into the canopy.
Okay, let me just have a look at that sign before we move away. God, the kids are doing wonderful jobs on the signs as well, aren't they?
They did, and they did this during lockdown, so they were actually at home, and we were using a Google program that they could work away at home. I could give them feedback.
Aren't they very conscientious?
Yeah, they're great. That's that beautiful myrtle tree I was talking about. I love the bark on it.
This baby here to my left.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Really unique orange coloured
Yeah.
bark, and
Let me go the other side because
it's also in flower at the
it's
moment.
quite dark in here, so I want to make sure I get the light on it. Oh, it's fabulous, Codie.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tree.
So this is your favourite tree in the whole place, is it?
I'd say it is, yeah. Just I just love the colour of the bark, and then when it's in flower, it's beautiful as well. So
I would assume that's
sure
not
if
a
it
native
has-
tree either.
No, I doubt it. And I don't know if it has any value for biodiversity really here.
How long have you been here as a teacher?
Yeah, well, I've been a teacher about 11, 12 years now, Michael, and most of it has been in Rockbrook. And yeah, I mean, I'm a science teacher. That's my qualification, biology and science. So I suppose that there's a lead in from that into nature and biodiversity. So it's something that, you know, we do anyway as part of our course, ecology and habitat studies. But I think it's important that it's not just seen as something that's done as part of the curriculum. It's also something that's part of your overall education. It's more than that. So we try and get the guys out into the
Into the
ground as much
field,
as possible.
basically.
Yeah.
Now, do you think you have any budding scientists in your classes?
Too many. They're all great.
Too many, really? Okay. That's a wonderful thing for a teacher to say.
Yeah. No, they're great. Like I think kids by their nature, they're interested in science because it's a way of satisfying their curiosity about the world. So science is generally a popular subject in the school. And
Okay, so when you walk into the forest, what do you find are the most common questions? Like, do they ask you more about the animals or the plants or the trees?
Well, they're probably most interested in the insects and the animals once they go and find them. I think when people are walking around, if they actually stand still for a couple of minutes and just look around them, they see little movements in the grass, they see a bee landing on a flower. If they turn over a piece of wood like this or a stone, they'll see all the different mini habitats that are living under and organisms that are living underneath it. So that captures their interest. And then as they get more interested, I think they start to appreciate the plants and the fungi and stuff as well. Autumn time's a great time to walk around here and see all the different types of fungi and mushrooms that we have grown.
Which way do you want to go? That bridge there,
this way.
that actually crosses the Oundor River. That's a lovely little bridge.
Yeah.
Obviously part of the mill at some stage.
And it has these kind of sluice gates in it, so they can control the flow of water, or they could have controlled the flow of water.
Now I will say here, folks, I'm not so sure whether Codie's aware of it or not, but I have a thing about flowing water and the wonderful sound of the rippling of the water, and particularly when it's mixed with birdsong. But I've been unlucky again this morning. There's not a lot of birdsong, but at least we can hear the river rippling along. Codie, how much do you know about the mill?
Yeah, I mean, basic. I wouldn't have. I'm not the history teacher, so the history teacher would bring you through a lot more detail than I would. But I know it was a paper mill, and I know that the water was channeled up into a big kind of a reservoir, and then that reservoir, the water would be released to turn the huge big wheel, and to do whatever they did to make the paper.
Wonderful. So let me just talk a little bit here for a minute. I'm going to just drop the camera down below Codie here and let you see the river flowing underneath. Now that is the Oundor, and the Oundor flows from here in Rockbrook all the way down to join the Dodder at Bushy Park. And I'll add a little bit of where it joins the Dodder at a later stage, but I think in actual fact I may have shown you this before, but that's basically it. And in actual fact it flows through Massey's Wood as well, so it's flowing from Massey's down here in Rockbrook and through the grounds of Rockbrook Park School. I'll tell you something, folks, school was never like this in my day. Oh, there's a rope bridge here.
The rope bridge, so our summer camps just finished there a couple of weeks ago, so the rope bridge was up for a summer camp.
Now, is that for your own students or is it open?
Primary school kids, so they
oh, okay.
It's for anybody. It's.
I assume there's a charge for using it.
The bridge or the summer camp?
No, the summer camp.
Oh yeah, the summer camp. Yeah, it's called the Dangerous Summer Camp, or the Rockbrook Dangerous Camp.
It gives them an insight.
The idea of is just to get them outdoors and out into an area like this where they can, run around in a safe way and learn more about their environment.
A more adventurous.
Exactly, adventurous, and they also do lots of sports and all as well, so
Yeah,
it's good fun
okay.
for them.
Now I'm standing on a little bridge that crosses the Owen door here. And as usual, knowing Michael, I have to include running water. And the sound of the water just rippling along. But still, no bird song. I think the birds are doing this to me on purpose, you know that? Oh, isn't that wonderful? This is a little piece of heaven. Now, oh, what a wonderful place to go to school.
You won't believe me when I tell you what this is, Michael.
Will I not?
No.
Why not?
Well, there's no people around. It's a swimming pool.
Really?
Yeah. So this would have been again built by the families who lived here. This is a sluice gate, so when you open that up, all the water goes through as normal. But when you put it down, this area fills up, and it would have been used as a bathing pond, a swimming pool for the people who lived here. And there was a little summer house you can see over here as well. And so we're currently repairing the roof on that, and that would have been where people got changed and bathed. And you can see steps going down into the swimming pool there. So we still use it.
What do you use it for nowadays?
Well, the kids swim in it.
They are actually allowed swimming in it, okay, yeah.
Now, not swimming as per se, but you know, when we're doing summer camps, they can jump in,
Yeah.
they can run through, they pull themselves along this rope.
Oh,
so
very
it's
good.
more of an adventure type of a thing.
Okay, let's have a look at the little house up here. So this was sort of a changing room.
Well, it would have been, yeah, a changing room, a summer house or whatever for people who would have used it back in the day.
It must have been marvellous for those families back in those days.
Yeah.
Incredible.
They
And
had
then,
some privilege, all right.
of course, they didn't have to do the work. They had gardeners and all sorts of people looking after the place.
I imagine working and keeping everything looking pristine.
In fact, Massey's Wood, if I'm correct, was designed by some famous gardener.
Okay.
But I'll have to look into that because I don't know the history of the place.
Right, yeah.
But I believe the house that was on Massey's Wood, Kilkee House,
Right.
was one of the most magnificent houses in Ireland.
Yeah.
Sadly,
I can imagine
long gone.
Still is some estate.
I'm just going to go over here and get a quick shot of another one of the signs. Right
Yeah, so
beside this pool.
This is a sign.
Aha.
There. So Donald and Jonathan and Ben made this one. And it's just a little few facts and a bit of information about the Owen River and the type of wildlife you might see here. Now we have kingfishers and otters there. We don't see them very often, but there are all types of things.
Oh, nice little benches for the kids to sit on as well.
So here's another one of our signs Michael made by Gabriel, Miguel and Gleb, and they did their woodlands, so they looked at some of the different biodiversity we find in the woodland here. This bench was made by our groundsman, John. So he's a carpenter by trade, so he was able to put this dragonfly bench together, and again this offers an opportunity when you're bringing a group through. They can sit down, you can give them a little talk while they're here, they can have their lunch, and this area is kind of kept a little bit clear, so it can be an area that we can do things in, and a nice view over the river as well.
And the shape of the dragonfly is beautiful.
It is. And yeah, I suppose the idea behind the nature walk obviously is for our own students to learn more and appreciate more about nature and biodiversity, but it also gives us an opportunity to invite up others you know, so we can, you know, they're private grounds, it's a school like any other school, but people can be invited up. So primary schools have come up and they've done the nature walk. Our transition years bring them around, and other groups that are interested could contact us, and I'd be happy to show them around. Our students would be happy to show them around.
Well, thanks again for watching Wildlife Wednesday, folks. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and if you did, I'd be grateful if you'd give it a like and subscribe to my channel. And when you do, don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. If you'd like to buy a copy of my safari book From Sunrise to Sunset, just follow the link below the video. Till next week, stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands and wear a mask where necessary, while continuing to maintain social distancing, because we're not quite out of the woods yet. Even me. Take care, folks. Bye.